Welcome to the Cozy Storytime, your peaceful space to unwind and relax. Before we start, make sure to subscribe and like the video for more cozy stories every night. So, where are you watching it from? And what are you doing right now? I hope you enjoyed this story. Good evening. You're in a quiet place now. Let your breath slow, gently, and allow your thoughts to drift like mist curling above the black lake as dawn waits just beyond the horizon. Here, there's nothing you need to do, nothing you need to fix. Just listen, because tonight, I'll take you on a slow journey. A story wrapped in old magic and whispered secrets, the kind only the castle remembers. This isn't a tale of battles or grand triumphs, but of soft echoes, small choices, and the kind of magic that hides in forgotten corners and dusty shelves. It begins on your first visit to Hogsmeade, where the cobblestones are still wet from last night's rain, and the scent of pumpkin pastries lingers in the air. A quiet path, a forbidden shop, a pendant that hums with a memory not your own. Take a deep breath. Let the world around you fall away. Because right now, you are here, among the whispers of Hogwarts, and the hush of something ancient, waiting to be remembered. Let us begin. Softly, slowly, and let the night carry you.
Guy. Outside your window, the world is dressed in pearl-gray mist. It lays softly over the black lake like a hush draped upon water, still and wide and dreaming. The air is thick with the scent of dew and stone, and the castle breathes around you, slow, ancient, and alive. You sit up slowly, as if not to disturb the stillness, and listen. Somewhere far away, a clock strikes 7, but its echo sounds as though it has been traveling for years. Everything about this morning feels unusually suspended, like a page of time that forgot to turn. Your fingers reach under your pillow almost on instinct, brushing against something folded, worn at the edges, but solid. The paper has the texture of old parchment, and though you've seen it before, your breath still catches a little as you unfold it again, a Hogsmeade permission slip. Signed in Professor Aradia's swirling ink, it trembles slightly in your hand, as if it too is alive, just barely. Today is your first trip. Your first step beyond the castle walls without a lesson to attend or a professor waiting at the gates. A day of your own choosing. Outside, the stones of the castle are cold beneath your feet as you dress. Your scarf still carries the faint, dusty scent of your wardrobe, and your gloves are stiff from lack of use. Autumn has deepened its roots since September. The air is sharper now, the kind that bites the tips of your ears and nose, yet brings with it the earthy promise of falling leaves and chimney smoke. You leave the dormitory quietly. The others are still asleep, wrapped in their dreams, and you don't want to wake them. The corridor is long and lit by flickering torches that never quite burn the same way twice. Shadows stretch lazily along the stone floor, curling around corners like tired cats. You walk slowly, not wanting to rush, letting each footstep fall with the quiet assurance of belonging. At the main hall, students are beginning to gather. Laughter bubbles here and there, bright and untamed. You spot Amari across the crowd almost immediately, not because he draws attention, but because the space around him always seems slightly quieter, as if even sound hesitates before settling near him. He leans against a column, his hands deep in the pockets of his long, black coat, his face unreadable beneath the curtain of dark hair that brushes his cheekbones. He's been here longer than you, though he rarely acts like it. He has the kind of presence that doesn't need to assert itself. As your eyes meet, he gives a small nod, nothing more, but something in it feels like an agreement, a shared secret you weren't aware of having until now. When the gates open, it feels like a sigh, stone and iron breathing out years of stories and letting you walk into your own. You follow the path that winds away from the castle, through the thinning trees, your boots crunching on frost-laced grass. The sky is pale and low, the sun merely a memory behind the clouds. Hogsmeade emerges from the fog like a dream remembered in pieces. Rooftops covered in thatch and snow, windows glowing with firelight, smoke drifting in lazy spirals from chimneys that speak of warmth and old songs. The scent of caramel, roasted nuts, and something faintly spicy lingers in the air, teasing your senses. It's as though the village breathes too, and with each step you take, it welcomes you more. You trail behind the others for a while, drawn into the shop fronts with names that shimmer in gold, honeydukes, zonkos, scriven shafts. The cobblestones beneath your feet are uneven but familiar in a way that feels older than memory. You turn your head as laughter echoes from the three broomsticks, as students push past carrying mugs of butterbeer that steam in the cold. But Amari doesn't slow. He walks with intention, quieter than ever now, turning away from the main street and toward a narrow path tucked between a tea shop and a weathered bookstall. You hesitate for a second before following, your breath catching in the colder air of the alley. This way, he murmurs, barely loud enough for the wind to carry. His voice is smooth, low, with a calm that always makes your skin prickle, like he knows something you don't, and likely never will. The alley narrows until the buildings lean inward, whispering to one another above your heads. Here, the air smells different, older, like moth-eaten curtains and firewood that hasn't been lit in years. There's no one else around. Even the chatter from the street fades behind you, as if you stepped through something invisible. At the end of the lane is a door. No sign. No light. Just what's swollen by rain, framed in stone that remembers war. One of the windows is cracked, and the curtains behind it haven't moved in a long time. Amari stops in front of it. This place hasn't opened since the Second War, he says quietly. His eyes don't meet yours, but they flick once toward the door, like it might flinch. People say it's still waiting for something. You want to ask what that means, but your voice feels clumsy in your throat, and besides, he's already pressing the door open. It groans, reluctant and aching. Inside, the air is thick with dust and time. The light from outside barely touches the shelves. Everything smells of forgotten wood and candle smoke, and something older still, like parchment that was never meant to be read. You step in carefully, your footsteps muffled by the threadbare rug stretched across the floor. The place feels like a memory of someone else's dream. At the far end of the room, behind a counter that looks carved from a single, dark tree, sits a man. He is still a stone. His hair is silver, his shoulders wrapped in layers of wool and old magic. But it's his eye that holds you, a single eye, bright and watchful, the other covered in a patch that looks sewn by hand. He doesn't blink, doesn't smile, but he speaks. You came. Not a question. A statement. Like a fact that's always been true. You glance at Amari, but he's busy looking at a shelf of cracked glass vials. You're not sure if he heard. The man reaches under the counter and places something on the wood. It's a pendant, circular, bronze, and worn to near smoothness. A faint shimmer flickers across its surface, like breath on glass. "It chose you," he says. His voice is like gravel soaked in honey, rough and soft all at once. You approach slowly. The pendant hums faintly as your fingers graze it, the vibration not quite physical. It feels aware. When you touch it fully, you feel something shift in your chest, subtle but undeniable, as if someone else had inhaled through your lungs for just a moment. You blink. The shop feels farther away. Your thoughts are no longer singular. There are whispers in the corners of your mind, just out of reach. And then the pendant stills. Cool now. Innocent. You look up, but the man is gone. Not vanished, but stepped out, perhaps, into some unseen room. You turn to ask Amari something, anything, but he's already heading for the door. "Come on," he says, and his voice is just as calm as before. "We've got what we came for." The pendant is still in your hand. The weight of it anchors something deep inside you. And far away, so faint you wonder if you imagined it, a voice hums a single note that isn't yours. You followed the sound of Amari's footsteps long after they had stopped making sound. There was something strange about the snow that day, not just the way it fell, slow and hushed like feathers drifting downward from some invisible nest in the clouds, but the way it held things. Like sound, like breath, like time. Hogsmeade stretched out before you in its usual charm, wrapped in its shawl of white and the faint gold haze of winter sunlight. The village was quiet now, the mid-morning crowd having scattered. The 3 broomsticks stood behind you, its windows still fogged from warmth within. Ahead, Amari turned left, boots crunching softly against packed snow, leading you off the main street. You hesitated. Just a moment. The cobblestones here curved into an alley you'd never walked before. That alone was strange. Hogsmeade was small. You had thought you knew all of it. But something about the path seemed to open just for the 2 of you. You followed. The narrow passage was flanked by brick walls, their mortar worn with age, ivy clinging to the stone in faded green spirals. The air changed the farther in you walked. Cooler. Not cold, but calm. Still. Even the snow that had drifted lazily through the rest of the village seemed reluctant to fall here. It was as though the alley existed beneath the weather, beneath the day, beneath now. There was a smell, faint but distinct. Old wood. A kind of dust that lived in books and drawer bottoms, warmed by candle wax and a trace of herbs. Not the sharp, fresh kind from a greenhouse, but something gentler. Faded lavender, maybe. A touch of mint that had lost its bite. Amari didn't speak, but he moved as if he'd been here before. Perhaps many times. You turned a corner, and there it was. A shop. Small, quiet, and somehow utterly unremarkable. It had no sign, no windows. Just a dark oak door pressed flush into the brickwork, its edges soft with age. Vines curled around the frame, brown and brittle in the cold. At its center was a symbol, burned or perhaps carved, an unbroken spiral, turning inward. You'd seen that spiral once before. You couldn't recall where. But it stirred something inside you, like remembering a song you never learned but somehow know. Amari stood in front of the door, unmoving. He looked at you, not with urgency, but something gentler. You first. The words were so quiet you almost didn't hear them. Your hand reached forward on its own. Fingers extended. The moment they brushed the carved spiral, the door side opened. Not with a creak or groan, but the soft release of a long-held breath. Warm air spilled out, and with it, a deeper scent. It hit you like memory, old paper, cedar smoke, dried rose petals, and something you couldn't name. Something metallic and warm. The smell of enchantment long since sealed in wooden boxes. Inside, the light was low and golden, not from electric bulbs, but from soft oil lanterns that swung gently above like sleeping fireflies. The shop was narrow and deep, shelves lining both sides, each one filled to bursting, yet not chaotic. Every item had a place, even if you didn't understand it. The wood beneath your feet groaned softly as you stepped in. Not in protest, but in greeting. You moved slowly, your boots brushing against scattered leaves or perhaps crumpled pages. The scent of aged parchment grew stronger. The floor was uneven, rising and dipping like the deck of a ship long out to sea. Behind you, the door closed with a whisper. And still, Amari said nothing. You sensed him somewhere behind, letting you take the lead now. This was your moment, not his. The deeper you walked, the stranger the shop became. Walls curved inward at odd angles. The ceiling sloped down, then up again. It felt like the shop had grown around the things it housed, not the other way around. There were mirrors that didn't reflect. A violin that hummed faintly though no bow touched its strings. A bell jar holding a single, withered glove that moved slightly as you passed, as if adjusting itself in a dream. Then you saw it. At the very center of the room, in a patch of light that did not seem to come from any lantern, sat a small counter. Upon it, a pendant. Round, rough around the edges. Its color was hard to place, bronze, perhaps, darkened with age, streaked faintly green. It looked handmade, worn, and etched deep into its center was the same spiral as the one on the door. You stepped toward it. The pendant wasn't glowing. Not really. But it caught the light in a way that made it feel alive. As you came closer, you felt something shift. Not in the air, but in you. Like a weight being lifted. Or placed. You couldn't tell which. Then came the sound of footsteps. Measured. Slow. One, then a pause. Then another. Tap. Like cane on stone. A man emerged from the shadows. He wasn't tall, but he seemed to stretch as he walked, like his presence was larger than the body that held it. His robes were layered, stitched with shimmering thread. Not glittering, but shifting, colors moving like ink in water. His face was creased with time, and one of his eyes was hidden behind a cloudy lens bound in a metal ring. The visible eye, pale green, tinged with gold, fixed on you. Well, he said. His voice was dry, but not unkind. I wondered when you'd find your way here. You opened your mouth, but he raised a hand. No need, he murmured. It's already chosen. He stepped forward slowly, motioning to the pendant. It waited. You looked at Amari, finally. He hadn't moved. His eyes weren't on the shopkeeper, but on the pendant. You picked it up. The moment your skin touched the metal, something deep in your chest stirred. Not fear, not power, recognition. And beneath the recognition, a whisper. One that wasn't yours. Not yet. The pendant pulsed once. A hum, like an old bell rung from far below the earth. Then silence. You closed your hand around it. And in that silence, the whisper came again. Not in your ears. In your mind. A thought. Not your own. Not in words, but in knowing. And you realized, slowly, breathlessly, that the pendant had not chosen you. It had remembered you. And now, the remembering had begun. The name lingers long after you return to the castle. Bruma. You whisper it to yourself once, twice, tasting the syllables in your mouth like a spell spoken in secret. It's unfamiliar. Yet, as it rolls across your tongue, it feels like it belongs to something long buried in your bones. You say nothing to Amari as you pass through the castle gates, nor as you cross the great courtyard bathed in the last light of day. Hogwarts looms ahead, ancient and golden in the dusk. Its many towers pierce the sky like the spires of sleeping giants. The windows glow with candlelight, flickering behind panes fogged by the breath of evening. You step through the heavy doors and into the warmth of the entrance hall, where laughter rises faintly from the great hall. You hear it like you would a lullaby through water, distorted, distant, oddly unreal. Amari doesn't follow you into the crowd. He touches your arm once, a brief pressure barely there, then disappears up a side stairwell without a word. His shadow stretches long behind him, swallowed by the torchlight and stone. You eat little at dinner. Everything tastes dull, as though your senses have been dimmed. The pendant remains in your pocket, unmoving, but you feel it like a second heartbeat. The world around you is no longer quiet, not truly. Even in the hall, among friends and familiar noise, there's a low hum beneath everything. A pressure. A whisper you can't quite make out. Later, when the castle begins to settle into its nighttime hush, you return to your dormitory. The common room is empty. A fire crackles in the hearth, throwing gentle gold across the rugs and the carved wooden beams overhead. You move slowly, your body heavy with a fatigue that isn't physical. It's as if you've walked a long road in your mind and have only just returned to yourself. Outside your window, the ground sleep under a veil of cloud. No stars tonight. Just the dark, deep and unmoving. You change into your nightclothes and sit on the edge of your bed, the curtains drawn around you like soft velvet walls. The pendant lies in your palm, its chain coiled like ivy. You study it in the dim glow of your wand, tracing the lines of its worn bronze surface. And then, just as your breathing begins to slow, a sound. Not in your room. Not in the corridor. Above. You pause, holding your breath. There it is again, a soft, rhythmic thud, like wings beating against the air. Followed by a gentle tap, tap, tap against the glass. You pull back your curtain and see it, a bird perched on your windowsill, its feathers sleek and dark as polished coal. Not a raven. Not quite a crow. Something in between. Its eyes glint in the night like twin shards of onyx, intelligent and still. In its beak, a letter. You hesitate only a moment before pushing the window open. The wind is cold and wet, filled with the scent of moss and distant water. The bird tilts its head, then drops the letter into your hands and vanishes without sound. No flutter of wings, no shadow on the grass below. The envelope is damp at the edges, the parchment old and lined with veins like a leaf in late autumn. No name, no seal, only a thin smear of silver ink. No, not ink. Something else. You bring it close and realize it glimmers like tears dried beneath moonlight. You break the fold with careful fingers and draw out a single sheet. The handwriting is elegant, slightly slanted. And though the lines are few, each word seems etched into the page with urgency that contradicts its softness. When they sleep, come to the astronomy tower. Alone. The stars remember more than they should. Bring the pendant. You've already been chosen. B. There is no signature. Only that single, final mark. A capo B. Bruma. You hold the letter close to your chest, as if its warmth might tell you something more. Outside, the castle whispers around you. A tapestry rustles. A stair creaks. The stone shifts softly beneath unseen footsteps. Night at Hogwarts is never silent. It merely holds its breath in longer stretches. You know the rules. You know curfew. You know that climbing to the astronomy tower in the middle of the night is foolish, risky, perhaps even dangerous. But the letter still glows faintly in your hand. You swear it does. You wait. You let the others fall into sleep. You listen as their breathing deepens, steady and soft beneath the weight of dreams. The dormitory grows still. The fire dies. When you are certain you are alone, you slip the pendant over your neck. It settles against your skin like a promise, like a question yet to be asked. You move silently, out the common room, up the spiraling staircases, past paintings that murmur in half-sleep and suits of armor that twitch slightly as though dreaming of battles long since ended. The astronomy tower is the highest point of the castle, and the climb is long. The cold intensifies as you ascend, wrapping around your ankles and wrists like invisible chains. Yet your feet move without hesitation. The letter remains in your sleeve. The pendant pulses once, faintly, as if guiding you. At last, the door. It creaks open with a whisper, and the wind rushes in, sharp, scented with frost and stars. You step into the open night. The tower platform is vast and empty. The telescope looms nearby like a sleeping creature, covered with canvas. The stone beneath your feet is slick with dew. The sky above is silver black, a tapestry of quiet stars veiled by slow drifting clouds. For a moment, nothing happens. You breathe. And then, at the far edge of the tower, something begins to glow. A light. Soft, pale, almost shy. You step closer. It's not a lantern. Not a charm. It isn't anything you've ever seen. The light curls in the air like smoke, shaping itself into lines, into curves, into a symbol. Floating. Spinning slowly. And it's familiar. Because you've seen it before. Not here. Not in a book. But on your skin. Your birthmark. The same shape. The same delicate spiral within a ring of intersecting lines. A symbol no one had ever recognized. Not until now. It hovers before you, waiting, not asking, just existing, as if to say, you see it now. You reach out, not with your hand, but with something deeper, some quiet space inside you that stirs as the symbol pulses. And then, a voice, not spoken aloud, not even a whisper, but heard clear as bells through morning fog. You've returned. You do not answer because you do not know how. How do you reply to something that speaks without sound, to a voice that exists only in your mind or perhaps beyond it? The tower is silent. The glow before you, your mark in light, swirls ever so slowly in the night air. It doesn't move with the wind. It moves with something else, as if responding to your breath or the rhythm of your pulse. The voice does not return. Not yet. But the words still echo within you. You've returned. The pendant is warm now. Not burning, not uncomfortable, but radiating a steady thrum of presence. Like it is awake. Like it too has been waiting for this moment. You glance down at it, and in the moonlight, the bronze surface gleams with fine lines you hadn't seen before, veins of silver etched into its surface, too faint to be visible until now. The symbol in the air glows brighter in response, as though acknowledging the connection. Something inside you shifts. Not fear. Not excitement. Recognition. You step forward, slowly, toward the light. The symbol seems to breathe, contracting and blooming like a flower. Your skin tingles as it passes near you, brushing against your cheek like wind made visible. A faint scent follows it, one you can't quite name. It's not floral, not earthly. It's ancient, like the scent of an old book left open under starlight. And then the voice returns. Quieter now. Intimate. Do you remember yet? Your lips part, but no sound comes out. The question, gentle, patient, fills your thoughts like fog seeping into a valley. You think to say, I don't understand, but the words melt before they reach your mouth. You feel as if you were meant to remember something. Not from your childhood, not from stories, but from before that. From before you had words for memory. You close your eyes. The wind brushes against you like a lullaby, and with it comes the flutter of wings. You open your eyes again. Another bird. No, the bird. The same black-feathered creature that brought the letter. It circles once above the tower, then lands silently on the stone railing. Its feathers catch the moonlight like oil on water, glinting with hues you can't name. It watches you, waiting. Clutched in its claw is another folded note. You cross the platform slowly, the pendant swaying gently against your chest. When you reach the bird, it does not flinch. Its eyes are deeper than glass, impossibly still. With careful fingers, you take the note. There is no envelope this time, just the folded paper. The ink is smeared in places, as if written in haste or with hands that trembled. You read, I saw the mark again. Not in a dream this time. It's spreading. It appeared on the edge of the forest, on the stones no one ever touches. Something is waking. Or remembering. I don't know which. You need to know what it means. Please, don't wait too long. There are others like you. You aren't the first. Be. You look up sharply, but the bird is gone again. Not a sound. No flutter of feathers. As if it never was. You turn back toward the floating symbol, which is beginning to fade now, the lines unraveling slowly, like ink being drawn back into a quill. Whatever magic summoned it, whatever memory it drew upon, it is retreating, leaving behind only that quiet whisper of wonder and unease. The cold returns to the stones beneath your feet. You hadn't realized how warm the air had become until the chill crept back in. The stars are clearer now. The clouds have begun to break apart. You glance up and see them winking above you, silent and ancient. Witnesses. You stand in stillness for a while longer, unsure what to do, unwilling to break the moment completely. When at last you descend the stairs, the castle feels different. Quieter than usual. As if it, too, has been watching. The corridors stretch ahead like rivers of shadow, broken only by the occasional flicker of torchlight. You keep to the edges, moving silently, each step placed with care. You know these halls, but tonight they feel like they belong to someone else. Or something else. The castle shifts in your mind, not a place of safety, but a place of memory. A living thing that remembers more than it says. As you turn a corner, you pause. A parchment lies on the ground. You bend to pick it up, heart beginning to stir with unease, but it is not another note. Not from Bruma. It is a torn page from a student's journal. The ink is faded, but legible. They said it only happens every few generations. When the signs appear. When the veil begins to thin. I thought they were only stories. But the dreams started last week. The symbol showed up first in the mirror, then on my arm. It burned. I tried to tell Professor Wren, but she dismissed it. If I disappear, tell someone. Tell anyone. Just don't let them bury it again. You stare at the page, your breath caught. You don't know this handwriting. You don't know this name. But you know the feeling. And it's beginning to stir deeper now. Beneath your ribs. Beneath the surface of your thoughts. This is not a coincidence. You fold the page carefully and slip it into your sleeve with Bruma's notes. The pendant throbs once, a slow, sympathetic echo, as if it too has read the words. By the time you reach your dormitory again, the horizon has begun to pale, just slightly. The first trembling hints of dawn. You slip back into bed, fully clothed, and draw the curtains around you with shaking fingers. You lie there, heart full of unspoken thoughts, the pendant warm against your chest. The castle breathes around you. Outside the window, a single bird calls, 3 short notes, low and strange. You close your eyes. And for a moment, just a moment, you see it again. The symbol. But this time it isn't in light. It's in flame. And behind it stands a door. Not made of wood. Not stone. But of something older than both. Waiting. The dream lingers longer than it should. You wake before the others, your body still, your breath shallow. The curtains are drawn around your bed like a soft veil, letting through only the faintest hint of light. But inside your chest, it's not morning, it's still the tower, still the wind, still the burning image of a door outlined in flame and memory. You stare upward, though there's nothing but fabric above you. And yet you feel the door still there. Not just in your mind, but in the hush between your heartbeats. You feel it like a pressure behind your eyes, like the faintest pull at the base of your skull. Something wants to be opened. Something wants you to see. You sit up slowly. Outside the curtains, the dormitory is quiet. The air carries the smell of wax and parchment, of clean robes, and the faint metallic tang of sleeping spells. You push the curtain aside and slip out, your feet making no sound on the floor. There's a stillness in the common room that morning, one that feels expected. As though the room knows you're coming. The fireplace is only cinders now, and the windows are pale with the fog that clings to the castle grounds. You sit in your favorite chair, the one nearest the window, and press your forehead to the glass. Outside, the lake is a silver sheet of mist, rippling gently. The forbidden forest is a blur of deep greens and grays, and the sky is the soft white of unspoken things. You try to steady yourself, to think clearly, but your thoughts spiral like the pattern on your pendant, curling back on themselves in loops. The symbol, the bird, the letter signed only with B, the whispered voice on the tower, the dream of the burning door, and now this weight, this presence in your chest that wasn't there before. Not like this. You reach into your pocket and pull out the pendant. Today, it looks older, more worn. Or maybe it's your eyes that have changed. The veins of silver in the bronze have spread, just slightly, as if the metal has begun to crack open. It almost looks like something is underneath the surface, something pulsing faintly, like a second heartbeat. You tuck it back beneath your robe when you hear movement from the stairwell. Amari enters the common room, silent as always. He's wrapped in a charcoal scarf, his dark hair slightly damp as though he's already been outside. He says nothing at first, only looks at you with those unreadable eyes. You've learned not to expect explanations from Amari. But today, he speaks. You saw it, didn't you? He asks, his voice low, like wind through winter branches. You nod. He doesn't look surprised. Instead, he sits beside you and gazes out at the lake, his expression distant. His fingers toy absently with a button on his sleeve, and you notice, perhaps for the first time, that he wears a ring with the same spiral symbol, only inverted. I waited 3 years, he says after a long moment, before it spoke to me. It chose faster. You turn to him. What is it? He doesn't answer right away. Instead, he leans forward, resting his elbows on his knees. There are stories, he says finally. Old ones. Passed down in margins. Hidden in books no one borrows. Things even the portraits pretend not to remember. You listen, barely breathing. They say magic forgets. But not all of it. Some pieces wait. He glances at you, then away. I think you're one of them. The ones it remembers. A cold weight settles in your stomach. The pendant hums faintly, as if responding. But why me? You ask, your voice barely a whisper. Amari doesn't respond directly. Instead, he reaches into his coat and pulls something from an inside pocket. A small journal. He hands it to you. You take it with careful hands. The cover is dark leather, worn and soft, etched with faded lines. The first page is a name. Bruma Everly. Observations. Year 1. The script is neat, precise, familiar. Your heart skips. You flip through the pages, lines of notes, sketches of the symbol, diagrams of stars, drawings of a bird with eyes too sharp to be ordinary. Annotations in the margins, recurs during lunar alignment, dreams intensify around solstice, possible ancestral link. She kept records of everything, Amari murmurs. Even when she disappeared, the castle didn't forget her. Neither did I. You close the book slowly. Where is she? Amari's lips press into a line. He doesn't answer, but the silence says something. You nod, barely. You don't need him to explain the ache you feel. The sense of something lost just before you arrived. The imprint of absence still lingering in places no one talks about. You run your fingers along the edge of the journal, and as you do, the pendant pulses again. A word comes to you, not from Amari, not from the pages. From somewhere deeper. Vestige. You say it aloud without meaning to. Amari turns sharply, his eyes narrowing. What did you say? You blink. I don't know. But he's already reaching into his coat again, this time pulling free a scrap of parchment. He hands it to you. On it is the word, written in Bruma's handwriting. Vestige and that which remains. The echo of magic long buried but never broken. There's a weight in your chest now, a knowledge settling like snow. The dreams. The door. The bird. The pendant. Even the castle's hush. They aren't fragments. They are threads of something whole. And you are already tangled in them. Amari doesn't speak again, but you see the way his jaw tightens. He knows more. He always has. But he also knows it's not time yet. You tuck the journal away. There's a class to attend, a schedule to follow, but the day passes like a haze. The hallways feel narrower. The walls lean closer. The portraits watch a little longer. When you pass a group of students whispering by the library steps, you hear one name. Bruma. Just a murmur. Then they fall silent as you near. And suddenly you feel eyes not just behind you, but ahead. Anticipating. That night, in bed, the pendant warms again. You dream again. But not of flame. Not of doors. This time, of a key. Falling slowly through an endless sky. And a hand, yours or someone else's, reaching, but never quite catching it. Not yet. The dream fades slowly, like ink dissolving in a basin of water, but the feeling remains. A key falling through endless sky. And your hand, always reaching, just out of grasp. When you wake, it is still dark, the world caught in that trembling stillness before dawn. A silence deeper than rest hangs in the dormitory, as though every shadow is holding its breath. The curtains around your bed sway slightly, though there is no wind. The pendant hums against your chest in a steady, low rhythm. Like a reminder, you do not sleep again. Instead, you rise quietly, your footsteps muffled on the worn stone floor. You move through the castle like a thought drifting at the edge of someone else's dream. The halls are dim, lit only by the occasional blue flicker of a waking torch or the hush of a sleeping portrait murmuring to itself. You don't know why your steps lead you where they do. only that they must. Past the whispering suits of armor, past the tapestry of the unicorn in the clearing, you turn a corner and find yourself before a door you have never noticed before. The wood is blackened, not from fire but from time, as though age itself has seeped into it like smoke. The handle is cold and ornate, shaped like a curl feather. You hesitate, but only for a moment. The door opens without a sound. Inside is a small, round room. Not hidden, exactly, but forgotten. The walls are lined with shelves, not of books, but of objects. Unusual ones. Hourglasses filled with ash. Bottles that hum softly. Mirrors that reflect a sky that is not outside. In the center of the room is a table covered in cloth, and atop it, spread open as if left mid-thought, is a map. You step closer. The map is hand-drawn, the ink precise, yet somehow alive, as though the line shifts slightly when you're not looking. At first, you think it's a map of the castle. The familiar outline of towers and wings curls around the page like a coiled animal. But then you see the annotations. They're written in a narrow, careful script. One you've seen before. Bruma's. Spire of mirrors, echoes intensify around solstice. North Arch, wall feels warmer on fog-heavy nights. Creaking steps, someone else hears them too. Possibly residual imprint? Astronomy tower, aligned with lunar mark. Only visible when it chooses. Vestige signature. Confirmed. The pendant warms beneath your robe at the last note, pulsing in sync with the quiet hush of the room. Your fingers drift over the map. The ink doesn't smudge, but it seems to shimmer ever so slightly where your skin passes near it. This isn't just a map. It's a record of when, not just where. You trace one particular notation, a small spiral, inked beside the old music classroom. It has a date beside it. Last year. Midsummer. You wonder what happened there. Or who. Bruma had seen things, too. Followed them. Marked their passing like a stargazer counting constellations in a stormy sky. There's a journal beside the map, its spine cracked with use. You open it carefully. Third night of the dream. Same door. Same flame. But someone else was there this time. Not me. Not yet. Someone after. Or before. They held the key. But they didn't open it. They waited. Why are they waiting? You read the entry again, your breath still. She saw the same dream. Before you ever stepped foot in the tower. Before the pendant chose you. Before the bird brought its message. You don't realize you've spoken aloud until the silence answers you. A quiet voice from the shadowed corner of the room. She never found it. You turn, startled, but it's only Amari. Leaning against the doorway, his scarf loose around his neck, the moonlight drawing his shadow long across the stone. He steps inside, hands in his pockets, gaze not on you but on the map. She followed it as far as she could. Traced every echo. But the key, it was never meant for her. He glances at you then. It's meant for you. You shake your head, but there's no strength behind the denial. Only confusion. And something that might be guilt. She left more than maps, Amari continues, moving to the shelves. She left questions. Questions the professors wouldn't answer. Questions even the ghosts wouldn't touch. He picks up a vial and holds it to the light. Inside, a single drop of silvery liquid floats in suspension, glowing faintly. She called them remnants. Pieces of magic that refuse to fade. He sets the vial down and looks at you again. She thought you might be one. The room tilts slightly. You grip the edge of the table. A remnant? Amari shrugs. Or a vessel. A thread. She was never sure. But she believed some people weren't just born. They were remembered. You close your eyes. The pendant hums in response, as if affirming something you're not ready to believe. I'm not, you begin, but stop. Because part of you is ready. Part of you has always known. Amari moves toward the table and taps a spot on the map just beside the lake. Tonight, he says softly, there's a place where the veil thins. Where Bruma once waited, hoping to see the other side. He looks at you, and in his eyes is something softer than usual. Go there. You glance at the map, then at the journal. And you nod. Because even though your hands still tremble, your heart no longer does. Later, when the sky is full of velvet and stars, you leave the castle again. The lake is hushed. The mist curls low, curling around your ankles as you walk to the edge of the water. The moon hangs low, brushing silver over everything. Somewhere in the trees, a bird calls. 3 soft notes. You reach the clearing on the southern bank. And there, you stop. Because it's already waiting for you. Not the door this time, but a mirror. Tall, freestanding, framed in iron vines. And in its reflection, you. But not as you are. Not quite. Your eyes are brighter. Your hair, longer. Your skin, marked faintly with the spiral symbol at your throat. You watch yourself raise a hand, but you haven't moved. And then the reflection smiles. And it is not your smile. You don't remember stepping forward, not really. One moment you're standing at the edge of the clearing, the mist curling around your ankles like a lazy cat. The next, you're so close to the mirror that the cold of the glass seeps into your breath. The figure still stands on the other side. Still you, but not. Their hair lifts slightly in an invisible breeze. Their eyes shimmer with something that flickers, not quite light, not quite shadow. And the symbol at their throat burns silver, glowing faintly like a distant star. They don't speak, not at first. They only watch you, as though waiting for you to understand something you've always known but never had the words to say. You reach out. Not because you want to, but because you must. The tips of your fingers touch the glass. Only, there's no glass. There's only cold air. And then a pull. Soft, but certain. Like gravity bending toward memory. Your reflection moves with you, matching your hand. And then, they step through. It isn't sudden. There's no flash of light, no grand flare of magic. Just a hush. A moment folding in on itself. The sensation of time holding its breath. And then your double stands before you, real and whole. But still not quite. You. Not entirely. They are taller, only slightly. Their expression is calm but unreadable, like Amari's, but warmer somehow. As if they've seen every future where you fail and still believe you might not. And then they speak. Do you know why the pendant chose you? Their voice is your own, but gentler. Slower, like someone speaking a language you forgot you spoke. You shake your head. They nod, as if they expected that. Because you're the echo of someone who chose it first. You take a step back, your heart quickening. The pendant hums faintly against your chest. The sound of it now is more than just a vibration. It's a tone, a note in a song you haven't learned yet. You swallow hard. Are you me? They smile. It's a soft thing. Not quite sad, not quite kind. I'm who you are going to be. The night stills around you. The moonlight turns quiet. You feel the weight of those words settle into your bones, and everything within you leans forward, listening. Your double continues. You're a thread, a memory wrapped in skin. The castle remembers you. So does the magic. So does the pendant. They touch the spiral symbol on their own chest. This isn't a mark. It's a map. You blink, confused. A map to where? To the door, they say. And then, softer. To the truth. You try to speak, but no sound comes. So your reflection steps forward, slowly, gently, like a tide coming in. There are things in this world, they murmur, that never leave. Not really. Not the dreams. Not the doors. Not the choices. They reach into the air beside them and draw forth something small. It's the key. The one from your dreams. Long and slender, made of the same strange bronze as your pendant, with silver spirals etched along the shaft. It looks ancient and delicate, but when they press it into your hand, it feels heavier than stone. You stare at it. The cold seeps into your fingers. It's time, your reflection says, to decide. You look up. Decide what? They glance past you, toward the mirror behind, now dark and still. Whether to remember who you were, or become who you're meant to be. And then they step back. Not toward the mirror, but into the mist. And with each step, they fade gently, quietly, as if melting into the breath of the night itself. Until you are alone. Key in hand. Heart pounding softly. The clearing is silent again. You don't know how long you stand there, watching the spot where they disappeared. The mist curls tighter now, as though drawing in to listen. The pendant is warm again, warmer than before. And inside you, something stirs. Not fear. Not confusion. But memory. Not like recalling something you've forgotten, but like opening a drawer and finding something that had always been there, quietly waiting. A name. Bruma. It doesn't sound foreign in your mouth anymore. You turn toward the path back to the castle. The walk is long and quiet. The night seems to part for you, the trees leaning away as if they know who you are now, or who you might be. When you reach the entrance, the stones of the castle feel warmer beneath your fingers. You don't go to bed. You go to the astronomy tower. Not because the letter told you to, not because you're afraid, but because now you need to see it again. You climb the winding stair with the key clutched in your hand. The air grows colder as you rise, but you don't shiver. The pendant pulses with a rhythm now, slow, like breathing. At the top, the door to the tower is closed. You hesitate only once. Then you lift the key. It fits perfectly. It doesn't turn. It recognizes. The door opens inward, and the room is full of light. Not sunlight, not moonlight, but a soft, golden glow that seems to rise from the stone itself. On the floor, the symbol, your symbol, is traced in silver flame, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. You step into it, and the world shifts. Not violently, not loudly, just slightly, like a page turning, a breath exhaled. And in the silence that follows, a voice, not yours, not Amari's, not the reflections, speaks from within the light. And it speaks your name, not the one you were given, the one you were remembered by. Your name lingers in the room like an echo caught in a music box, spinning gently in the hush that follows. It is a name you have never heard before and yet know completely. It wraps around you like warmth, like a memory that belongs not to your mind, but to your bones. You don't speak it. You don't need to. The fire on the floor, the silver spiral at the heart of the astronomy tower, pulses brighter in recognition, as though it too has waited for this moment. The room is otherwise silent, the kind of silence that only happens when something ancient is listening. You step further into the symbol, and the warmth surrounds you. Not heat, something gentler. Like starlight remembered on skin. Like a story being told through light instead of words. And then, the tower falls away. Not literally. The stones remain. The floor beneath your feet is solid, still and sure. But your perception tilts. The walls dissolve into a night sky vast and impossibly deep. You can still see the outline of the tower, but it's veiled in something you can't name, like time folded over itself. The stars above are brighter than any sky you've known. You're no longer alone. Figures begin to shimmer into view. Not ghosts. Not illusions. Echoes. People who once stood where you now stand. Their faces are obscured by time, but their presence is unmistakable. You see them in the corner of your vision, students, professors, wanderers, and dreamers, each one stepping into the spiral of silver flame across centuries, each bearing the same pendant you are now. They do not speak, but you understand them. Each one had been called, just as you were. Chosen not by prophecy, but by remembrance. The castle remembers those who remember it. The pendant is not an object of power, it is a key to memory. To the deeper language of the world. To the old, soft magic that exists beneath all other spells. You breathe in, and the scent that greets you is wild thyme and parchment, fog on warm stone, and something older still, like the scent of the sea before a storm that never comes. Then the space in front of you shifts, and someone steps forward. This time, you know their name before they speak. Bruma. Her presence is quiet and clear, like moonlight on still water. She is young, maybe a few years older than you now, but her eyes hold centuries. In her hand, she carries a notebook, not the one you saw before, but something older. The cover is worn, corners bent, the pages soft from turning. She offers it to you. No words, only trust. You take it. The moment your fingers touch the leather, the fire on the floor swells, not with heat, but with memory. Visions bloom in the air around you like soft petals falling upward. You see her in a younger version of the tower, with different stars above, sitting cross-legged, writing. You see her running through Hogsmeade in the rain, laughing beside someone you don't recognize. You see her staring into the same mirror you found in the forest. And finally, writing the letter you received, dipping her quill into a bottle of ink made from tears. Not hers. Someone else's. The images fade. And Bruma speaks at last. You weren't meant to find the shop, she says, her voice layered with echoes, like many voices speaking through her. But when you did, it remembered you. The shop is not just a place. It's a threshold. Every enchanted space leaves a shadow, an echo. You remember Amari's words. The residual magic. The remnants. Bruma nods, as though hearing your thoughts. The shop knew. The mirror knew. Even the pendant, it only woke because you did. You finally find your voice, quiet as it is. Woke? Bruma smiles. The kind of waking that happens without opening your eyes. You've always felt it, haven't you? That knowing. The sense that the world is slightly more than what's seen. You nod. It's not even a choice. She gestures to the book in your hands. You'll finish what I started, but not the same way. Your path will twist in its own direction. The castle will show you more now. You look down. The cover is engraved with the same spiral symbol. And underneath, in fine lettering, the words, for the one who remembers. When you look back up, Bruma is gone. But the echo of her presence still lingers, soft as a fading star. The light in the tower begins to dim, not vanishing, but softening. Retreating gently, as though the dream knows it's time to return. The tower is itself again. Stone walls. The cold whisper of wind through old glass. The warmth of memory held just behind the skin. You descend slowly. The key is still in your pocket, but somehow you know you will need it again, not to open the same doors, at least. You pass the library and see candlelight flickering behind a crack in the door. Someone is awake. Bruma's notebook is warming your hand. Outside, the sky is beginning to blush with the faintest shades of morning, dusty violet, soft rose, a gold so pale it seems to exist only in dreams. And on the edge of the Ullery, a blackbird waits. Not a crow, not a raven, something else. It watches you, then drops something from its beak. You catch it midair. A single page from a journal. The handwriting is familiar. Bruma's. If you're reading this, it means I found you in time. It means you're awake. And it means the world is ready to remember again. You look up. The bird is gone. But the wind shifts, carrying a whisper through the trees. The kind of whisper that knows your name. Not the name you were given at birth. The name given to you by fire and mirror and flame. You breathe out, and your breath curls in the cold morning air, curling around the spiral pendant that still rests warm against your chest. You begin to walk. Not back to bed, not back to the life you had before, but forward into a world where shops sleep until the right person knocks, where dreams are maps, and where even forgotten towers remember the ones who choose to see. Behind you, Hogwarts rises into morning, ancient, endless, and alive, just like you. And now, the story finds its rest. The echoes have quieted, the flame has dimmed, and the spiral has closed softly like a lullaby forgotten just before morning. You've walked through mist and memory, through mirrors and towers, through shadows that did not chase, only waited for you to see. The pendant rests warm at your chest. The world hasn't changed, but perhaps just a little. You have. So let your breath return to stillness. Let your thoughts drift like feathers in slow falling air. There is no need to understand everything now. Magic, after all, is rarely in a hurry. Some truths find us gently. Some dreams take the long way home. And some nights, like this one, are meant only for listening. Thank you for being here. Sleep well, and may the castle keep your dreams.